Bergen-Fischer Media.
Hey, it's Monday, here we go. It's the Call Me Tony Show.
Hey guys, normally I record and release on Mondays, but I'm doing something a little bit different today because Monday in Canada is election day, and what I have to say relates to that, and what I have to say about it can't wait. So let me start by saying today is Friday, April 25th. My name is Tony. This is my podcast. This is my state of mind. These are my concerns. Welcome. Right now, Canada is standing at the edge of an election. And while we have the benefit of looking across the border at what not to do, I worry that too many people still think that we're immune. We're not. The United States just reelected Donald Trump. Not in 2016, not as some sort of one-off protest vote or chaotic experiment. In 2024, after everything, after the violence, after the erosion of institutions, after the court stacking, after the climate denial, after the attacks on press freedom, after the overt racism, after the criminal charges, after all of it, they gave him the presidency again. Not because the majority wanted him back, not because the resistance was silent, but because too many people who opposed him refused to vote in a way that could have actually prevented it. They said they were voting their conscience. They said both sides were bad. They said the system was broken, that their voice didn't matter, that strategic voting was selling out. And now they're living under Trump. Again. Resistance doesn't undo that. Once power is handed over, resistance becomes damage control. So when I hear people in Canada talk about skipping the vote or sending a message with their ballot or rejecting the lesser evil, I hear echoes of the same stupid mistakes. I hear a refusal to learn from what just happened and from what is still happening. The American resistance didn't stop Trump. It might have slowed him down. It might have exposed him for the piece of shit that he is, but it didn't block him. Voting blocks. Voting prevents. Voting decides. Let's talk honestly about what elections do and what elections don't do. Elections don't reward your moral stance. They don't validate your personal political philosophy. They don't reflect your full complexity as a human being. What they do is decide who holds power. They decide who gets to make laws, who gets to appoint judges, who gets to declare states of emergency, who controls your rights, who funds your province, and who answers your calls. That is what Monday is all about. Not slogans, not how righteous we feel yelling into the void, not how clever our takes are online, not whether we like the leader's haircut or whether a party speaks to us. It's about who is in charge, who governs, who decides what life looks like for Canada in the coming years. Because when the wrong people are handed power, it takes a very long time to claw it back. And they don't just go after the loudest opponents. They go after the most vulnerable people first. the people whose rights were already fragile, the people who couldn't afford to wait for us to figure out what mattered most. I hear this a lot during Canadian elections. But I can't vote for someone I don't believe in. As if voting is your personal endorsement of every policy a party has ever had. Like, get over yourself. As if holding your nose and voting for a flawed candidate is the same thing as betraying your values. It's not. Voting for the candidate who has the best chance of stopping harm is not betrayal. It's compassion, it's maturity, it's strategy, and yes, it is power. That doesn't mean we shouldn't criticize our candidates. It doesn't mean we should excuse their faults. It means we recognize that the perfect option is not on the ballot. The perfect option has never been on the ballot. And the perfect option will never be on the ballot. If you're waiting to be inspired before you vote, ask yourself who benefits from that kind of delay. Who profits when good people refuse to show up? Spoiler, it's not the communities we claim to care about. I understand the impulse to resist. I really, really do. When everything feels like it's falling apart, when housing is unaffordable, when wages aren't keeping up, when climate promises ring hollow, when it feels like no one is listening, resistance can feel like the only authentic choice. But resistance is not a plan. Resistance is a reaction. We can't build the country we want on protest alone. It has to be built through policy, through appointments, through budgets, through legislation, and all of that starts with an election. So let's stop pretending that voting is performative, but protesting is not. Let's stop pretending that staying home is some kind of revolutionary act because it's not. It's surrender. And we've seen what happens when people surrender their vote and hope that moral outrage can do the heavy lifting. Trump got reelected because too many people assumed it couldn't happen again. And the same thing can happen here in Canada. Maybe not with a figure who mirrors him exactly, but with policies that do the same kind of damage. And that damage always hits Indigenous communities first. It hits racialized people. It hits trans people. It hits people living in poverty. It hits single parents. It hits people who are already erased by the system. Those of us who have the luxury of feeling disappointed by our options still have a duty to protect those who don't have the same cushion. The ballot isn't a love letter. The ballot is a tool. And like any tool, it's not sacred, but it is necessary. And I'm not saying this as someone who feels great about our options. I have serious concerns about all of the major parties. I have frustrations that aren't new. I have a sense of fatigue that's real. But the difference between fatigue and apathy is action. You can be tired and still act. You can be skeptical and still act. You can be pissed the fuck off and still act. You can hate the system and still use your vote to protect people from something worse. Because if we don't use that vote wisely, we're not rebelling, we're retreating. And retreating only clears the path for those who want less democracy, less transparency, fewer rights, and more power concentrated in the hands of those least accountable to the rest of us. So, what do? We vote thoughtfully, strategically, and honestly. We vote with a long view, not just a personal one. And if we're in a riding where the person we like most can't win, we vote for the person who can stop the one we fear. We do it not because it feels heroic. We do it because it's the surest way to keep the ground from eroding underneath us while we work towards something better. Resistance might feel good in the moment, but voting is what protects us from needing to resist so often and with so few results. So don't wait for inspiration. Don't wait for perfection. Don't wait until it's too late. Vote, because the future doesn't arrive on its own. It's chosen, it's built, and it's fragile. This Monday, Canadians, vote.